Hello and welcome back to Bicycle Legs and another edition of Studio Albums Ranked. Today we're going to be talking about the unique English progressive rock band Gentle Giant. And they really are unique, even within the world of progressive rock. They don't really sound like any other band. They did 11 studio albums over the period of 11 years that they were together, and we're going to be ranking them from my least favourite to my most favourite. I've got to say, most of these albums I think are really good, and this was quite a hard list to do. And my top 2 or 3 could change from day to day depending on when you ask me. Anyway, let's start with my number 11, and I don't think this one's going to come as much of a surprise to most Gentle Giant fans. It's 1978's Giant for a Day. This album has been much derided among the fandom, and that's kind of fair enough. It is, in my opinion, their weakest work. That's not to say that there's nothing worthwhile on this album, because I think there actually are some songs that are really good. Words from the Wise is a really good song. It's a poppy song, but it's still got that Gentle Giant flavour to it, I think. Giant for a Day, I've always really liked that song. I love the guitars in that song. Spooky Boogie is fun. Friends, John Weathers' song on side 2, is a lovely little acoustic ballad. The rest of the songs, yeah, really not up to Gentle Giant standard, are they? So that one's my number 11. At number 10, I'm going to go with 1977's The Missing Piece. Now, this is the album where they started to move towards that sort of poppy sound that they went for full on Giant for a Day. But this one's a little more successful, I think, in doing that. I mean, side 1 is very much the poppy side. Side 2 is a little bit more of a typical Gentle Giant sound. But even on side 1, 2 Weeks in Spain is a fun song. I really enjoy that song. The rest of those songs, though, on side 1 are a little bit banal for Gentle Giant standards, I think. But side 2's got some great songs. As Old as You're Young is great. Memories of Old Days is a classic Gentle Giant song as far as I'm concerned. Winning is good, and For Nobody's really energetic, but still with that Gentle Giant sound. So they could do it. They obviously felt the oncoming punk thing coming and tried to adapt their sound accordingly, and it didn't quite work. I think it worked a little bit better on the next album I'm going to talk about, which is my number 9, which is Civilian from 1980. This was their last album. This album kind of has a bit of a new wave sound to it in places, and I like that because, I mean, the first music I really grew up with wasn't progressive rock, it was new wave. So I quite like it. Convenience, Clean and Easy, great song. All Through the Night is really good. Shadows on the Street is really lovely too. Underground, I Am a Camera. Inside Out is beautiful. That's a great song, wonderful song. And It's Not Imagination's a good closer. If they'd kept going with this sound, maybe they could have found some success with it, I don't know. But I mean, the thing about Gentle Giant was they were never a commercially successful band, even in their sort of full-on progressive days. It's kind of amazing that they managed to do 11 albums in a career, all on major labels, when they had virtually no chart success throughout their career. So yeah, but Civilian, I really enjoy that album. My number 8 is going to be Interview from 1976. A lot of Gentle Giant fans think this is sort of the last classic Gentle Giant album, and I can kind of see their view on that. There's some great songs on this album. Interview itself is really good. Give It Back, they try to go for a kind of a bit of a reggae thing, but again, in a very Gentle Giant way. It's not sort of straight reggae by any stretch. Design is one of the most complex tracks they ever did. Really, really complex. Lots of percussion and strange vocals. Side 2 is good too. Another Show is very energetic. I Lost My Head's a great closer. Yeah, good album, but it's just that these next several albums I think are better. So my number 7, again, is only number 7 because I love the albums that come after it better, because this is a really, really good album. I really enjoy it. And that is their 1970 debut, Gentle Giant. I mean, it's a great album. It's a really good first album. I still think they're trying to find what would become that Gentle Giant sound, and maybe that's why I rank it a little lower, because they haven't quite found that sound yet. But I mean, you know, there's so many good songs on this album. Giant itself, Funny Ways, is a Gentle Giant classic. Alucard, Isn't It Quiet and Cold with the Strings, Nothing at All and Why Not. I mean, yeah, it's just a wonderful album. Again, I like the next few albums better, but it's an album I do go back to, and it's one that could come up on my list a little bit higher depending on what day you ask me. Now, my number 6 is going to be their third album from 1972, Three Friends. Now, this is the UK European cover. This is actually an Australian pressing. But the cover that they used in North America was that one, which, as you can see, is just a rehash of the first album cover. Three Friends is the first of their concept albums, and I think some of the other concept albums work a little better, but having said that, again, great tracks on this album. I mean, Prologue is great. School Days I really like. I've always really liked that one. Working All Day is fun. Peel the Paint is really good. And then Mr. Class and Quality and Free Friends are probably not quite as good as the rest of the album, but I still think it's a good album all up. The next album I'm going to go for, my number 5, is their second album from 1971, Acquiring the Taste. Now again, ask me on a different day and this one might be a top 3 album even, but I'm ranking it at number 5 today. This is definitely their most difficult album as far as musically goes, and I think they even sort of go for that in the notes for the album. But Pantagruel's Nativity is wonderful. Edge of Twilight's very strange and complex. The House, the Street, the Room is a great song. The Moon is Down I always liked. Wreck, Black Cat and Plain Truth is a great way to finish an album. So not where I would ever recommend anybody start with Gentle Giant, but once you've acquired the taste, as it were, it really is one of their more rewarding albums. My number 4 is going to be their fourth album from 1972 as well, and that is Octopus. Now, a lot of people would probably rank this as their number 1. I like a couple of the other albums a little bit better. This is, again, the European cover with the wonderful Roger Dean artwork. You may have even seen me wearing a shirt of this in one of my earlier videos. And this is the US cover, which I think is also really good. And it's got the die-cut sleeve there with the jar with the octopus on it. I mean, what can you say about this album? It is wonderful. The Advent of Panurge is an all-time Gentle Giant classic. Raconteur Troubadour, A Cry for Everyone, Knots, one of those songs where they do the interweaving vocals, which was a trademark of theirs. Side 2, I think, is not quite as good as side 1. The Boys in the Band is a fun instrumental. Dog's Life is good. Think of Me with Kindness is a tender ballad from Kerry. And then River is a good closer to the album. But I've always liked that album, Octopus. My number 3 is going to be their album from 1975, and that is Freehand. Now, these top 3 could switch places at any time. And Freehand is definitely the one that I would personally recommend. If you've never listened to Gentle Giant, you want to know what they're about, this is a great introduction for Gentle Giant, because I think it has a great combination of their oddness and complexity, but at the same time I think it's surprisingly accessible, a lot of it. Just the Same is a wonderful album opener. On Reflection is possibly my favourite Gentle Giant song of all. Freehand's a great song. Again, side 2 tends to be not quite as strong as side 1. Time to Kill is a good song. His Last Voyage. Talibont's a great little instrumental. I've always really liked that. And then Mobile. But as I say, if I was going to introduce someone to Gentle Giant who'd never heard them before, I'd probably go with Freehand. I like the next 2 albums a little bit better most of the time, but they're not as accessible. They're definitely not as accessible as Freehand is. So these last 2, it was really hard to choose which one to put at number 2 and which one to put at number 1. But eventually I decided my number 2 would be 1973's In a Glass House. I love this album. This is a fantastic album all the way through. 6 tracks, and every one of them is brilliant as far as I'm concerned. The Runaway is so good, and Inmate's Lullaby is a strange, delicate song, which I really like. Way of Life is great. Experience. A Reunion is a lovely little ballad from Kerry again, and then In a Glass House to close it is really, really good. Wonderful, strong, complex album. Maybe not as accessible as, say, Freehand is, but again, once you've sort of developed a taste for Gentle Giant, this is one of the albums I think that will pay the most sort of going back to. As is my number 1, which Gentle Giant fans would have guessed by now, is The Power and the Glory. I adore this album. It's a concept album about sort of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It opens at the top, which is strange, but it's a wonderful album. This is on the WWA label, which I think was a label set up by Black Sabbath's manager. But so many good songs on this album. I mean, Proclamation, So Sincere is one of the most complex, strange songs they ever did. Aspirations is very delicate. Playing the Game is that's a quite accessible song actually, I think. Cogs in Cogs, No God's a Man, The Face and Valedictory. Every song on this album is just strong, wonderful Gentle Giant music. So that is my Gentle Giant ranking. I'll go through them again from most favourite to least favourite. And at number 1 we have The Power and the Glory. At number 2, In a Glass House. At number 3, Freehand. At number 4, Octopus. At number 5, Acquiring the Taste. At number 6, we have 2 copies there of 3 Friends. At number 7, Gentle Giant, the debut. At number 8, we have Interview. At number 9, Civilian. At number 10, The Missing Piece. And at number 11, my least favourite, but not without its charm, Giant for a Day. So that's my Gentle Giant studio albums ranked. Please let me know in the comments what your ranking would be, which ones are your favourites, which ones you don't like so much. If you've never listened to Gentle Giant before, and I'm sure there's probably quite a few people who might watch this video who've never really listened to Gentle Giant before, they're not a band they're familiar with. go and have a listen to something like Freehand and let me know what you think. Especially if you're into progressive music. I think Gentle Giant is, as I said, a unique band within the genre of progressive rock. Please like, share and subscribe. It helps a young channel like mine out a lot. It really would help, especially if you can share this video with anyone you think would like it. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can follow me at bicyclelegs, just all one word, all lowercase. On Instagram, I'm mostly just posting records that I happen to be listening to at the time, so you might find that interesting. On Twitter, I talk about anything and everything. So, yeah, that's Gentle Giant studio albums ranked. Please let me know what you think. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm Bicycle Legs. Thank you very much.